Since 2003, this is The Sports Source with your host, John Pennington.
The Sports Source is presented by Junk Be Gone, Pipe Wrench, and the Garza Law Firm.
The Sports Source starts now.
Good Sunday morning. Welcome into the Junk Be Gone studios for today's edition of The Sports Source. Appreciate you being there. Appreciate you joining us Saturdays for the Saturday kickoff, Sunday for this show, and throughout the week on the Sports Source Digital Network. We got a big announcement about the show coming up later today, as a matter of fact, so we'll get to that at the end of the show. The rest of the show, before we get to that, it's going to be tons of scrimmage reaction, scrimmage news, fall camp news, the developments there. We're going to talk about the quarterback situation. We've actually reconfigured the rundown as of last night, as a matter of fact. We're going to talk about the Aguilar-Merklinger battle and whether or not it should be the Aguilar-MacIntyre battle. We'll talk a lot about the receivers. Is it a bad thing that these guys aren't out there? Is it a good thing because the younger receivers are getting reps? We'll discuss that. We'll talk about the offensive line and on down the line. Whole lot of Tennessee football for the next 90 minutes. Let's get right into it. This first segment of our show is brought to you by the Garza Law Firm. There are three things you need in an attorney. Intelligence, of course, a proven track record of successfully helping their clients, and third, a knowledge of the local legal system. Don't hire someone from Birmingham to represent you in Knoxville. Hire Marcos Garza and the Garza Law Firm. From here, based here, they know the here, including the judges, the attorneys. That matters when you're going into a court of law. GarzaLaw.com to learn more about Marcos and his fine attorneys on their team. All right, let's welcome in the first wave of panelists. We still have one more panel member off to the side, but we got good energy in here this morning. Just our pre-show talk, I felt pepped. We'll see if we can keep that going. Tyler Ivens right here. Will West right here. We often don't put the two of you together, so it's just like the radio show, except only people can see you. Thanks for 99.1 The Sports Animal. You can hear Monday through Friday. Paige Dauer, people see you at Full Disclosure Productions on YouTube. You and Jimmy Himes are there. Thanks for being here.
Of course.
Bob Hodge, people see you, well, anywhere.
Yeah, just hanging out.
Hanging out. Walmart, Lowe's, Home Depot. Yeah. Bob, thanks for being here, man. All right. Tennessee held their first scrimmage of the fall yesterday. And we'll start with the quarterbacks. That's what everybody else is talking about. And all three quarterbacks continue to get reps. You've probably read or heard by now that George MacIntyre, the third-string true freshman, had a good day throwing to second- and third-string receivers. Mm-hmm. And when you're talking about two guys being out, when you're saying second- and third-team receivers, you're talking walk-ons down the end of that thing. Joey Aguilar threw a pick six to a walk-on, Chris Brazel's brother. No one can see anything. Jake Merklinger, reportedly, not a good day. No one can see anything, basically. They run everybody out of there. So it's all a lot of people talking to people, getting their sources, and then everybody just rehashes the same stuff they heard from everybody else. If we say something that UT disagrees with, it's easy. Open up your scrimmages, and we'll be more correct with what you want out there. But going by what we're hearing, going by our sources, is it a concern that you are now 2 weeks into camp? You brought in a guy, you paid a guy to come in here. I think even though Jake Merklinger has taken the first snaps in practice, I think a lot of that has been show. I think they expected Joey Aguilar to take this job and run with it. Joey Aguilar has not taken this job and run with it. Tyler Ivens, is it a concern that Josh Heupel said yesterday after the scrimmage, I see no need to change the way we're doing reps going forward? In other words, no one stepped up yesterday. They're still splitting those reps. So is that a good thing that, hey, these guys are all so good, no one can pull away? Or is it a bad thing that you don't have anybody that's grabbed this job yet?
We're 20 days away until they head to Atlanta, and nobody has taken this job, run with it, put it in a lockbox, and walked away from the bank. Very concerning. It's very concerning. Now, at the same time, I don't think that any competition that plays out during scrimmages or the Monday through Fridays that happen on camp are going to keep from the fact that Joey Aguilar will be your starting quarterback against Syracuse and Atlanta. It is concerning that he's out there throwing pick sixes. We're now starting to see, yet again, this man not yet 100 days on campus for the University of Tennessee, being able to grasp, run tempo, and get on the same page with the rest of his players, the teammates who are or not on the field. It's very concerning at this point in time. Am I hitting a big red button, jamming it with a panic? Not yet, but first scrimmage, It's a telltale sign of where Tennessee's quarterback is.
Well,
Quarterback
you've only got one more scrimmage. Mm-hmm. I mean, they basically do a kind of a run-through thing for their last one. So you've got one more scrimmage to go. All right, Will, is this a concern? How concerned are you that Joey Aguilar hasn't taken this job?
Not very. I mean, my entire career, the first scrimmage, the offense is terrible and the defense just smokes them. That's just kind of the way that this goes. I would like to have seen him grab a hold of it. It's a bad thing overall that no one has grabbed this job. But at the same time, it's like an ingrown hair bad thing. It's not like a gaping wound bad thing. So it's going to be fine. There's still plenty of time for you to figure this out. Now, if you get to Syracuse and you're playing two quarterbacks,
oh, hang on. You jumped ahead.
Smash the panic button.
Okay.
But I still think you have 3 weeks to get there. This guy's new, and every first scrimmage my entire career, the offense was terrible. So why wouldn't the offense be terrible here?
Second question.
But John does not like when you get ahead of things. I have learned that. But I think when we look at the quarterback competition and there's so much injury across the offensive side as a whole, so you're not even throwing to your number one receivers, your number two receivers. Mike Matthews was kind of involved in the scrimmage yesterday.
Yeah.
So I think that's maybe why when you hear these things like, oh, Aguilar threw this interception. I'm like, okay, well, who was his intended target? Who was on the line protecting him? There's so many other things that go into it. And maybe because you hear that he threw the interception and not like the DB made a good play, maybe you have to read between the lines. But I also think when you're in practice too, you also have to look and read between the lines. Like maybe while people want MacIntyre to be that number one, he doesn't look as strong as the other two. And then maybe you want it to be Merklinger because he has a better grasp of the system. But I think Aguilar is probably the strongest. Give him another 8 days and maybe he'll look different. But I think it's still a two-man race. I don't think it's a 3-man
race yet? Okay. Bob Hodge. No panic, no panic, no panic.
Oh,
I can always count on you.
The right place for
Moderate
panic.
panic.
I think it absolutely
Panic, okay.
stinks that Aguilar has not been very good so far. Now, some people in UCLA said UCLA was happy to get rid of him because he stunk in UCLA. The kid threw 14 interceptions last year. Tennessee quarterbacks don't throw 14 interceptions under Heupel for a decade. Hadn't been here a decade, but that's the way the numbers are working. So all the positivity that he's going to get it, no, you're talking about a senior. You're talking about an old guy by college football standards, and he can't dump on Merklinger, who everybody, except one person I heard of, said he's looked terrible, and a freshman. I think you've got a real problem. And you can sit there and say, oh, the defense is always ahead. But you're talking about a quarterback who had a history of throwing interceptions at Appalachian State, throwing interceptions in practice.
To a walk-on.
And
One Jermod McCoy who picked him off.
You know, and wherever this team ends up, if you're sitting there chunking up interceptions, okay, that's going to cost you a game or two somewhere down the road. Because last year you won a lot because you weren't not chunking up.
You know what the concern for me is that you're wasting reps trying to act like this is a competition.
There you go.
It's Joey Aguilar's job. Hand him the job, get him as
Talk
good
to-
as
I
you humanly can be.
I talked to somebody.
Not that the others.
We're going to get there.
But the other guys do too. And if they stink worse,
Not
why
from what
aren't
I'm
you
hearing.
giving this guy as many first
Hey, we're going to play. We're going to play a bunch of stink.
Yeah.
But okay, he stinks a little bit
He stinks less, so
because
try to
he's
get him
new.
to stink as little as possible.
If I've got guys that are going to stink, I'll go with the young guy because maybe I can develop him. Because this time next year, Joey Aguilar is probably some camp arm in the NFL or the CFL or something like that.
Yeah.
So
See,
I'm
and
sorry.
let me just say, we're all animated over this, and this is why I think it's stupid that they don't let the media see their scrimmages and their practices. We're talking about what we've heard from people.
Yeah,
Sure.
exactly.
And that, now, before you say, yeah, that's what you're doing, so's everybody else. That's that's what we're forced to do because UT has to. Oh wait, don't say anything. Don't let them know anything. Wait, did you show somebody in a red jersey? Blur the video and turn that into a Zapruder film. So I do feel a little out of place here, and it bugs me that we're having to debate this like we watched it. And that everybody, you're here at radio, wherever you're going, everybody's talking like they watched it. Nobody watched it. They keep you out. And I think it leads to misinformation, and that's their fault, and it leads to panic.
Well, that's why I was
Now,
like, did he throw the interception? Did the DB make a good
well,
play?
all
He
we
was
can
there,
go by
so
it
it's
was
all
a pick six.
speculation.
All we
right.
can say is a pick six, and all I can say is
Exactly.
this. He was supposed to come in, and I heard he was going to be better than Nico. He's going to be just great in this offense. So far, he hasn't been great. Now, he hasn't been in the system long. He had to come pick it all up.
And that is a fair point.
He has to meet new guys. He has to get on the same page with the receivers. We'll get into that in the next segment. I just don't think it's going as swimmingly as they would like. I don't think if Heupel had drawn it up, this is what we'd be talking about.
I think
and what
if
we'd
it
have.
was as going as swimmingly as they would like, they would be putting more out there about it.
But do you
I
think,
think
that they
Aguilar
want to
would be
keep it a
getting more
secret? Do you
snaps.
think that they want this narrative out there that it is a competition, but maybe behind closed doors
Yes.
it's not? I mean, you go to practice and they still are. I mean, Aguilar is still getting targets with the first stringers. Like they are mixing it.
Oh, they're
And you only,
mixing
see,
it
they're
all.
still
you
mixing
only
it.
see 4 minutes.
still
You only
mixing
see 4 minutes.
I know that,
though.
yeah. I know.
Are
That's
those 4
stupid.
minutes like the difference between an 8 and 9 win season?
To Will's
But the-
point, you're 20 days until you take on Syracuse. I understand there's a lot of people right now who are like, it's 20 days, it's Syracuse. You have ETSU, who's not going to give you a fair defensive competition, and September 13th against Georgia is around the corner.
I just love this.
A lot of people now are going to sit there and go, Syracuse, okay, one thing. Would you be as calm as you were right now if it was Georgia that Tennessee's playing the first game of the year? Because that's essentially what you're running into.
I have such a problem with this narrative, the Syracuse thing. I'm the only guy in town, apparently, who says, well, Jimmy Himes was on the same thing I am. I'm sorry, I lived through Georgia State. This team with new everything on the offense is not so good that it's just going to roll its helmet out and beat the hell out of Syracuse.
Really?
Maybe they do, but I ain't buying it. So the idea that, okay, don't worry about that, but Georgia, and I know that's not what you're saying, but a lot of people are taking it that way that, well, look, I'm not worried about Syracuse. You should be. The longer this competition goes, the longer they're having to split reps 3 ways,
That's the thing.
the more dangerous Syracuse becomes.
This is my blown up ticket of Syracuse and the points, by the way, if you want to know what Vegas looks like right now.
Yeah, but I think you need to get Aguilar the work. You know the other two aren't ready. You think there's at least a chance he can get ready. So hand him as many reps as you
Exactly.
can. And I feel like some portion of this seems to be a little bit about team culture and morale, that you're rolling Merklinger and
look.
giving him first team reps he probably doesn't need to have.
Okay, but I just wonder if there's somebody else who needs first team reps, and we'll get to that a little later. Is George MacIntyre
once again,
getting short shrift on this?
Merklinger at Aguilar at Appalachian State wasn't that good. Everybody's acting like, man, this guy was something at Appalachian State. He wasn't that good.
You're right.
That's the reason UCLA kind of picked him up when nobody else, last year when the portal opens and people are getting $3 million and 2.5 and 4 and all the, nobody was coming after him. So people look at stuff that happened at Appalachian State against competition much less than what he's going to see in the SEC, and are acting like this guy was really something.
Well, I don't want to completely. I don't want to completely crap on him. Either,
No, I'm not going to
No.
completely crap on him. I'm just going to 95%.
Kind of went
crap
there,
on him.
yeah.
think you're
I
right,
was just,
98.
but let me put it this way: The Athletic. You talked about this week. The Athletic put out a list of the transfers that created the most buzz. All right, so Nico's number 14. It's the top 100 guys. Joey Aguilar isn't in the top 100.
Right.
You know who was? Steve Angeli, who'll be at Syracuse, who
Correct.
Tennessee could have gone after, the Notre Dame guy. He made the list. Now, it's a list. Means nothing. Aside from the fact people looking at it go, yeah, Steve Angeli could be a story, before they're saying, watch out for Joey Aguilar. Again, I don't want to crap on Aguilar. He may have a fantastic year, but I don't like the fact you're 2 weeks in and you're still saying, well, let's split the reps. Somebody should have grabbed it. In terms of the team culture thing, we did the thing on the Sports Source Digital Network about a month ago, ran it last week on the Saturday kickoff, as a matter of fact. Mike Stoll and Ollie Lane, 2 VFLs on there. I said, how do you sell this to a team? They said, well, you got to make it look like a real competition. Whether it is or isn't, you get Aguilar with the right guys. You make him look good because he's got the right guys around him. You split reps, that's fine, but everybody sees this guy win it. You can't just hand it to him, because when you just hand it to a guy, what you guys are calling for, just give it to Aguilar. That's what Fulmer did with Eric Ainge in 2005. That blew up in his face because Ainge had a bad year, later came back. I always have to come back, not bashing Ainge. He was great as a junior and senior, pro career. But his sophomore year was bad, and everybody in camp knew the other guy should have been the starter. It should have been Clausen. The team felt that. So you have to let the team see who wins it. My problem is the guy you wanted to win it isn't winning it. And the guy who's been on campus the longest isn't winning it. The guy who looks like he's got the most talent is the least ready, but I'm wondering, should he be moved up the list from what I'm hearing? But anyway, we'll discuss that a little bit later. So stick around. We got more quarterback talk to come your way later in this show. Up next, let's get to the wide receivers. They're not on the field right now. The top guys, 2 of them have been out. Another walking around a knee brace. Let's discuss the receiver situation. Then, I promise, we'll get to some positive stories. A lot of positive stories. It just so happens the 2 that we all went into saying, these are your big question marks, they don't seem real positive to me right now. Receivers next. Come on back. Welcome back to the Sports Source. We are fired up today. This segment brought to you by A.G. Hines Company. When I need building materials for this set, for the Sports Source Digital Network studio, when I need something in my home, I turn to A.G. Hines Company. Yes, they are a sponsor, but they also have everything I or you or anyone else could ever need, and they have 105 years of experience to go along with it. aghines.com to learn more about one of East Tennessee's oldest, most trusted businesses, A.G. Hines Company. All right, Chris Brazel, the lone UT receiver who got some serious playing time last year, he's yet to practice this fall. Braylon Staley needs to get experience. He didn't play much last year. Earlier this week, he came out of a practice injury. Nobody knows what the injury is. He has not been back, did not take part in the scrimmage yesterday. Mike Matthews missed a day of practice, just one day of practice, but he came back with a knee brace and a red jersey. Now, he was in there yesterday, so the red jersey was off. Will, rather than be Mr. Negative, I'm going to give you an option here. Silver linings. Is this bad news because you're not getting your starting quarterback, whoever it is, reps with these most important receivers? Or, hey, it's a good thing, as I've been told. It's a good thing because you're getting the young guys reps. You need to get those young guys experience. So is it bad or good?
Definitely bad.
Of course.
Josh Heupel doesn't play young receivers. We've seen that, and he doesn't play a lot of receivers.
He may have to this year.
He doesn't use a lot of the depth. I mentioned this to Tyler last week during our show, and I was talking to you guys about it off the air. Oklahoma last year, they had 4 new offensive linemen. They had 5 injured receivers. They had a quarterback who was a top 3 quarterback in his class, exactly in the situation Jake Merklinger is. You need those receivers to be there at the end of the day. And you're right. That's the biggest concern that I have is you need Joey Aguilar. He already has way too short of a clock. You need him to build as much of rapport and have as much communication and understand the receivers he has. You need all of this practice time, and you're not getting this practice time right now for Joey Aguilar with those receivers. And to me, you're already kind of up against it as far as your schedule to at least even have a quality offense this year.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's the wide receivers almost need it just as bad as the quarterbacks do, because even in the early practices where, let's say, majority of the wide receivers were healthy, it was a cold start every single time in those practices. So you go in there and they're missing catches. I mean, maybe they could be more on target, more in that catch radius, but not like the wide receivers were making it easier on the quarterbacks to start fall camp anyway, and now your top 2-3 guys are even in more limited reps. That makes me incredibly nervous. But, I mean, I think with guys like Travis Smith, Rodarius Jackson, I think they're eating it up. They love it. I mean, they're staying after practice, 100, 150 catches on the drugs machine. Like, they're taking this opportunity and running with it. But knowing that he doesn't like playing younger receivers makes me a little nervous. Like, it might just force his hand because the guys that they even have aren't performing to the level they should.
You're only 7 receivers deep total in this room this year, and now you've got
top 3
or hurt or out or have missed time. So and that's another reason, going back to why you don't want to continue to split reps into week 3 if you're wanting these guys to get on the same. But even if you're saying the young guys, are going to be out there, fine. Let's get them on the same page. Get them to start understanding. Oh, he likes me to run my route like this. Oh, he likes to, when he's looking this way, he means this. Just the little looks that you give a receiver.
Well, I know Braylon Staley's doing that. He's like in Kelsey Pope's office. I think we were talking on the sports handler the other day. In the office all the time, but now you're not really on the field. So how are you able to translate it? So I think everybody's like, their handicap is a a little bit greater this season,
and
I think.
Bob, different quarterbacks throw the ball in different ways.
Yeah.
You're adjusting to. I mean, Joe Milton is different than Nico Iamaleava is different from Hendon Hooker. Those guys are different in the way they throw the ball, and it would help if you've got the same receivers working with the same quarterback who they know they're going to be on the field with in a month. Your thoughts on the receivers not being out there?
I think to take a negative and make it negativer.
Oh, you're not going silver linings?
No, there is no silver lining to this one because your
it's going to be on your
receivers-
tombstone. No silver linings.
The receivers you got coming back weren't all that great last year.
Yep.
I mean, it's not like you're returning a bunch of all-stars. So if they miss time, Justin Jefferson's not practicing up in Minnesota. I think that's going to be okay. The guy's shown he can play a little bit. Well, you don't have anybody like that here. So the fact that unproven returners, for the most part, let's say 2/3 of your starters are unproven, that makes it even worse, I think. If you had a veteran group and they were banged up, okay, fine. They're going to come back. They're going to be good. But the fact that you're unproven anyway, I think it makes it worse.
Yeah, I mean, I know the tight ends get involved too, and they're not having like these crazy like go routes, 30, 40 yards down the field, but they are the most like accurate as far as being able to catch from any three of those quarterbacks. So is that your passing game this season?
Yeah, well, and see, the problem there is they don't really use their tight end that much. So
not
I
like
agree
they did
with
when
you.
Princeton Fanton were here. No.
That is a good point, and it's a point that also comes up. Let's see, I'm going to post it tomorrow on the Sports Source Digital Network. I had a chance to sit down with VFL Kevin Simon, someone who'd worked personnel group, he'd worked in the personnel front offices of NFL franchises. Great guy to talk to about roster decisions. And I asked him about whether or not Tennessee, we said at the time, do you go get a veteran receiver in the portal? I asked Kevin that. And also, Kevin discusses the tight ends. We discuss the importance of having guys on the field. So if you want to hear a VFL break that down, that's tomorrow. We'll post that tomorrow evening on the Sports Source Digital Network. When we come back right here, we'll run through some of the key stories coming out of fall camp, just lickety-split some of the good stuff, some of the notes. If Jimmy were here, we'd call it news and notes. That's next on the Sports Source. Come on back. Welcome back to the Sports Source. This segment brought to you by Elkmont Station. Are you tired of chain restaurants? Then get thee to Elkmont Station at Campbell Station Road. A totally unique East Tennessee feel with handcraft food, signature drinks that you're not going to find anywhere else. From the same great folks, if you love Scramble Jake's Breakfast Company, and judging by all the polls in town, you do, because they're always listed as the best breakfast spot in town. Or if you're looking for a place for lunch, dinner, after you've eaten at Scramble Jake's, head to Elkmont Station. Same good people running the same type great restaurant. ElkmontStationKnox.com to learn more. Tyler, you were going to say something?
Delicious. Actually, ate there 2 nights ago.
There you go.
Incredible.
There you go. ElkmontStationKnox.com to learn more. All right, let's welcome in the next member of the panel. Right over here, we have Chuck Cavalaris. Chuck?
Yes, sir.
Cowboys fan, your thoughts on Joe Milton last night?
Oh, well, I tell you what, they said they're going to have some tough roster decisions coming up, what they're going to do. It wasn't.
Well, that makes it sound like he's not going to make the team.
I
He's
know,
going to
well,
make the team, but are they going to carry a third quarterback?
Yeah,
because
what are
of
they? What are they going to do there? It wasn't a great showing first time out.
Well, I mean, it looked like what we saw here. There's a lot of
Yes.
100-mile-an-hour passes.
Right.
Yeah. All right. Let's quickly run through the fall camp topics, and these will have to be lickety-split. I'm just throwing some notes out here. After 4 days working off by himself, Boo Carter was back with the team in front of the media last week, and everybody thought, oh, cool, he's back to practice. Then at the scrimmage, word comes out that, and I credit VolQuest, I think they had this, word comes out he was only fielding punts in the scrimmage. He was not on the defensive side of the ball. And Josh Heupel afterwards said, well, we gave him steps. He's still having to work through those. All right, reactions, positive, negative. You like the fact that he's still having to work through it?
I like that. I like that fact. I like that there's some level of accountability. I think it can help Boo Carter. How many guys have we seen in Tennessee in the past that if someone would have held them accountable, maybe they don't wash out of college athletics, but they were just allowed to act like whatever knucklehead they want to? This is
Right.
Josh Heupel and his team or his staff attempting to get Boo Carter back on track.
Yeah, and having him out there in any kind of form or fashion is better than not having him there if he had left.
Certainly.
Correct.
Jermod McCoy returned to working out with the team this week. He tore his ACL in January, and he's already back out there working out, not practicing. Didn't take part in the scrimmage. No telling when he's going to be back on the actual football field in a game. But Josh Heupel said he had done an elite level of rehabbing. Tyler, your thoughts on Jermod McCoy? It's a positive sign that he's back already in terms of working out with the team, but until he gets on the field and we see how he's reacted mentally with that knee, because so many people who come out of an ACL surgery, they're not 100% until that next year. So until we see that, I'm still concerned. But having him back, his elite level of rehabbing, your thoughts?
I'll wait till I see him on the football field. Same thing goes for Miles Kitselman as well. It's great to have your All-American, essentially your poster child for your team out there, starting to get a feel of what the routine of practice is again. Let me know when I hear he's on the depth chart and he's listed at number 1 in his position. Josh
Heupel after the scrimmage had nice things to say about Star Thomas. And then you talked to people after the scrimmage yesterday. A lot of people had nice things to say about Star Thomas. Your running back group sounds like it's going to be a positive this year. I don't know that, obviously, I don't think anybody can replicate what Dylan Sampson did last year by themselves, but maybe as a trio, you've once again got something good there. That's what we've seen out of Josh Heupel. He certainly maximizes the talent he's got at running back. And it sounds like whether it's Star Thomas, Deshaun Bishop, Peyton Lewis, who didn't get a lot of carries yesterday, it sounds like they're going to be good there. Thoughts?
I wish they would have added somebody like that to the receiver room. I mean, but seriously, I mean, you went out and found a veteran guy that's productive. He's already rushed for 2,000 yards in his college career. Has rushed 16 touchdowns, a really good receiver. He's everything you're looking for. You added a veteran, productive guy at running back, and you needed one.
They're good enough. Can you block? Because nobody's a good enough. Barry Sanders is the only running back in my life who didn't need an offensive line in front of him to block for him to be successful. But that running back room is definitely good enough. And Chuck's right. Star Thomas is exactly the kind of guy you're trying to add.
Call back to 2023. Small, Wright, and Sampson, you needed a trio to find success. You're going to need a trio in 2025 to find success.
Sam Pendleton continues to be a little bit banged up, but he was out there yesterday. So your offensive line so far had been Lance Hurd, Wendell Moy, William Satterwhite, Jesse Perry, and David Sanders. Yesterday, you get Pendleton out there. So my question, who's your starter at center come Syracuse? Is it Pendleton?
No.
You think it's Satterwhite?
William Satterwhite. You need Pendleton at right guard to make sure that he is doing everything he can to also to assist the youngster
Perry's
at right
had a heck
tackle.
of a...
That's great. You just said the starting five who I want to hear out there to get Syracuse. Okay. Hurd, Moy, Satterwhite, Pendleton, Sanders.
I think Pendleton's going to be the center, and the reason why is from spring to fall camp, if I'm still hearing you can't get the snap, that means you didn't put the reps in. You didn't do your job. And so if the guy hasn't done the reps, whoever, whether it's Anderson or Satterwhite, if they still can't get the snap back, you have to go to the guy who can, and then you play someone else because you also then question whether someone's capable of playing at this level if they can't get a snap done.
I'd like to hear you get two guys that can play center.
Right.
I'm not big if you don't have one.
Right. Yeah. And look at who you're trying to replace there. Yeah. We're going to keep talking about Cooper Mays. The more they have bad snaps and the more they allow a sack.
I know everybody wants to talk about Nico leaving. The biggest story when it comes to replacement from last year's roster to this year's roster is Cooper Mays.
Oh, I completely disagree, but I see what you're going. So I'll go in the direction, but I'm not going that far.
Okay.
I think we could really wind up missing. If things look bad at the quarterback this year, I think you're really going to miss a guy who only threw 5 interceptions.
I wish Ollie Lane was up here because I'd throw him some props. It's very hard to be versatile to play guard and center, and I thought Ollie did an admirable job when Cooper Mays was out. Sam Pendleton might end up having to be that guy, but talking to Notre Dame people, they're saying you'd really, really, really like to have him as your guard to protect your youngster at the end of the line.
All right, when we come back, lots of talk this week about drop passes, bad snaps. Are these real reasons? I keep having people say, yes, but. Are the yes, buts reasons or are they excuses? Reasons versus excuses. That's what we discuss next on some nagging issues. Come on back on the Sports Source. Welcome back into the Sports Source. This segment brought to you by Southeast Termite and Pest Control. A few weeks ago, I snuck out of town for a couple of days and did my usual routine. I check into my hotel room, I unpack my bag, and then I go straight to the mattress and the headboards to look for any signs of bed bugs. I am freaked out by bed bugs. Those things have returned. I'm not interested in bringing bed bugs back to Knoxville with me. If you have been unfortunate and brought those little bloodsuckers into your home, call the Van Helsing of Southeast Termite and Pest Control. Those folks will go out and wipe out the bed bugs for you. They've done it. I've heard some unbelievable stories from Matthew Haynes and some of the folks there, the things that they have had to encounter. But by gosh, no matter how bad it is, they can take care of it for you. Southeast Termite and Pest Control, southeasttermite.com. If you wind up with bed bugs, and you can get them off a theater seat. You can get them just anywhere now. It's not just in a bed. Yeah, let me scare you. You need to call southeasttermite.com. All right. When we come back, well, actually visit it. You can't call a website, but you get the point. In the spring, there was talk of bad snaps at the center position, and it's continued into fall camp. But I have been told, well, in practice, it's up tempo. So many guys are going, you're going to have snaps on the ground. It just happens. All right. There's been talk of drop balls. And we brought it up last week. They started out their practice last Saturday. A lot of drop passes. People are talking about it. I've been told, hey, they're playing a lot of young guys due to the injury. You're getting on the same page with these new quarterbacks. It's normal. Okay. Joey Aguilar threw 24 picks in 2 years. And I've been told, yeah, but Appy State was behind in a lot of those games. They were behind in those games. He was having to catch up. Yeah. Okay. Possible those are all three legitimate, honest reasons. It's also possible they're just excuses to make you feel better because you're hearing some bad things right now. Are those reasons or are they excuses? And this is just whoever wants it. I know where you're going.
If you can catch, you can catch. Bottom line.
Yeah.
If you can catch, you can catch. And guys dropping a lot of passes, sorry. And okay, they were recruited out of high school, and so they got to be good receivers. They got to know how to catch. Yeah, but things change when you go to each level. There's been guys who've been great in college could not play in the NFL because they couldn't catch the ball consistently. So I think that's really worrisome. And as far as the center snaps go, yeah, if you have 2 bad center snaps a game, you're torpedoed. And people say, oh, that's not necessarily true. Well, some of it depends, too, on what kind. Everybody's seen a game where that center snap goes
over
10 yards over somebody's head and 30 yards backwards.
Yeah.
You know, likely as not, those kind of things are recovered by the defense. So, yes, I find it worrisome. But I find most things in preseason worrisome, so there you go.
There you go. Well, the bad snap, isn't that just the absolute drive killer?
Yes.
I mean, that's what I keep going back to. That's like the self-inflicted kind of thing that you got to get that cleaned up. And how many years are we going to talk about Tennessee's wide receiver dropping passes, can't catch the ball? And, you know, we've had trouble with accuracy, and then when it is delivered a catchable ball, you have too many dropped. So it's time to clean that up, isn't it?
If you had Jalen Hyatt back and I was hearing that, I wouldn't freak out as much. You know.
Yeah.
Well, then again, maybe I'd be sitting there thinking, is he reverting back to the last year? But no, I would be thinking, okay, I've seen this guy catch the ball. I'm not going to freak out over it.
Right.
But the problem is, you're talking about last year. You had guys like Chris Brazzell who dropped a lot of passes. You had when Nico hit guys. People always want to put it. As soon as he left, it got all put on Nico. He overthrew everybody. No, not everybody. He overthrew about 50% of those incompletions. The other 50%, doink, off the hands. So, and you know, granted, Squirrel White was dropping passes because he couldn't raise his hand. Okay, whatever. The drop passes to me, the bad snaps, the Joey Aguilar, he wanted to throw those interceptions. It's kind of the way it's going. It just seems like a lot of excuse making. And I'm exaggerating there.
No.
But your thought?
Oh, I hear you. Here's my biggest concern.
Reason or excuses?
No, I think these are a lot of excuses, and the two things being brought up of bad snaps as well as receivers dropping balls. Let's just talk about this big picture. What does everybody want to see Tennessee do this year? They want to see them replicate what they did last year, and all things have to be considered, and what's the process of getting there. Tennessee has to go on the road this year to Tuscaloosa, Gainesville, Lexington, sorry Starkville, but I'm not going to put you up there when it comes to home field advantage. You know what happens if Tennessee doesn't catch a 3rd and long in Tuscaloosa and a game on the line, a bad snap when you've got a chance to deliver the knockout punch? You get what I'm saying. These two big issues have seemed like they were this was just a Joe Milton situation when it came to throwing the ball 100 miles an hour, drop ball. Little Nico in that, it's now starting to become an issue. Pattern now starting to become a big, big issue and a problem. I'm not going to panic or worry about this yet, but I'm hearing more excuses because it seems like it is a repeated conversation we're having to have on this show Saturdays or on our radio show. Repeatedly, these are the topics we have to address.
Yeah. So we'll see where it goes. Maybe it all works out. Maybe we all come back and say, these were legitimate reasons. They were running a lot of centers out there, snapping a lot of balls. You're going to get some on the ground.
They were sweating a lot.
It was hot.
That makes me now go. I'm going to go back and look at Appalachian State and see when the interceptions came. Because if you're behind by 21 and there's 10 minutes to go in the game and you're throwing picks, okay, that's a little bit legit.
But the problem is people say that. Go ahead.
A couple of those, they were behind in big games in conference play. Others, there were snaps right down the middle, and he threw it right to a linebacker who had a posse waiting on him and take him down the sidelines.
That was easy enough to find out.
Well, but here's the other issue there is the idea that, the second year when he threw the 14 interceptions, they were behind a lot. They weren't a good team.
Correct.
They weren't a bad team the year before, and he threw 10 interceptions.
Correct.
10 was the good year.
And I can tell you a lot, and for the people out there that are listening, maybe the receivers dropped it. A lot of those, majority of those were bad reads, and Joey put it in the other hands.
And this is somebody who went back and looked at all the tape. More invested than I am because
That's a nice Monday through Friday.
Good deal. That's why you're the ace gambler, man. You know every player on every team. When we come back, can this year's team be a carbon copy of last year's team? All right, we talked about good running backs. We're hearing good things most places. Can this year's team carbon copy that formula from last year? Do they have the bodies, the positions, all filled the way they were last year to get to 10-2 with last year's formula? Let's discuss that next. Come on back. Welcome back into the Sports Source. This segment brought to you by Madisonville Marine, Skeeter Bass Boats, G3 John Boats, Hurricane Deck Boats, Creval Fishing Boats, Suncatcher Pontoons, Sweetwater Aqua Patio Pontoons. I could go on and on and on. No one carries more different types of boats with better pricing anywhere in East Tennessee. People come from Georgia. People come from Nashville. Why? Because there's no better place to buy a boat than Highway 411 North in Madisonville. Madisonville Marine. Okay, back with Chuck Cavalaris, Bob Hodge, Will West, Paige Dauer. We've thrown Tyler Ivens off the set. So he's going to be throwing paper wads at us from off set. So the passing game still sounds like it's very much a work in progress. That was your biggest question mark coming into the season. Your offensive line doesn't sound horrific. The snap thing is an issue, but the offensive line doesn't sound horrific. The defense, you've got people now, it went from can they be as good as they were last year to they can be better than they were last year. So a lot of these things sound pretty good. Mm-hmm. My question, Paige, can this team, does it have the right pieces, the right personnel to copy last year's formula? Dominate run game, dominate on defense, take care of the football, win 10 games to be on the cusp of a playoff.
Yeah, they'll have to do it the nitty-gritty way. But I think Tennessee's defense benefits the most from last year having so much depth and putting like 12 or so different rotation or guys out there and all the rotations that they did. So maybe they don't have as many returning starters as they did last year, but they have a lot of returning talent from last year. And then you hear about guys like Dominic Bailey, who's been the MVP on defense, or maybe even as the team as a whole this season. And Joshua Josephs, I think he's going to be a great replacement for what they're losing in James Pierce Jr. I think that defense is going to look so good this year. I know there's questions and mark around Boo Carter, but I wouldn't even be surprised if they just trot out 3 linebackers out there all the time. So then you don't really need that star position. And I think Edwin Spillman is going to be so good this season. But then you get to the run game, and that's been the bread and butter for Tennessee football all season long. I really am very high on Deshaun Bishop. I know we talked a little bit about Star Thomas, but Bishop looks so different. Like even just like his arms, his abs, his legs, he looks so much stronger. I know there's that picture going around with him stiff-arming somebody during the scrimmage, but I think that could get them to 9 wins. I don't know if they'll get to that 10 wins. Like maybe they'll need all the games this regular season to get there. But as far as replicating that production from last year, like that defense, I have a lot of confidence in.
So defense could, but you still have. All right. So you said it sounds like you're almost there, but not quite.
I have a little bit of question marks with Peyton Lewis. I guess maybe then if they had like that 3-headed, horse again, whichever, 3-headed monster, then maybe. But I still have a little question.
3-headed horse.
I know. I always say saying so it's actually so bad I shouldn't say how.
No way in Hades. There is zero chance. Not a chance in the world.
Just sat there and listened to the whole thing, and then
there is a better chance
that
aliens land on the field at Neyland Stadium at halftime of a game, specifically at that moment. Then this team wins 10 games by trying to go 1986 Joe Paterno crap. There's no shot that's going to happen. They 4 new offensive linemen. One of them's a true freshman. New quarterback. You don't have the depth that you had on the defensive line last year. I don't know how in the world they would expect to do that and win 10 games. Now, can they? I think they can go. If they do that, I'd look, honestly, if Tennessee goes tempo, I think they're 9-3 this year. If they don't, they're running that to do what they did last year, which was the right move last year.
I don't know if they're doing
I think they're 7-5. And I think that's what it'll go. Now, the fortunate part is you go up against a lot of bad teams with a lot of bad coaches. So can you get past a couple of those? But no, you don't have the players. True freshman at right tackle? Absolutely not.
All right, well, I can tell you who the most popular person from the fan perspective is. And it's not Will.
Well,
no, the question was, do they have...
It's just defense.
No, it wasn't.
No? Okay.
I think the elephant in the room is the schedule, and I think we all kind of agree on that. But you've lost 8 in a row to Georgia. You hadn't won at Alabama and Florida since the early 2000s. So can you flip one of those? Then maybe, but that can that be 10-2? It's going to be really, really difficult. I think you're closer to 8 than you are 10, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so it's tough to repeat.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it is the schedule. I really do.
Well, you're the only guy that's taking the schedule as a negative. Everybody else is looking at the schedule as a reason why you're going to just coast into a national title.
It's 3 key games to me, and then plus Oklahoma's
I'll throw
not
Oklahoma
going to be
in
a
there.
pushover. Yeah,
and I'm not laughing at Syracuse, but anyway.
Right.
I would. What my worry about that would be was last year you had so much depth on your defensive line that those guys were always fresh, and I think that's what made your defense so good.
Sure.
So could you use that formula to get to 10-2? I'm not going to go as far as Will said, and it would take an alien invasion to
And that's saying
equal
a lot.
that. But I just see without the depth that you had on the defensive line, and until I see what your offensive line can do, and until I see a running back,
Okay,
who you've had, but I'm going to say probably not. But unlike Will, I'm going to say it's within the realm of possibility.
Yeah.
If you have a quarterback that's not throwing it to the other team.
That's why I don't think it's possible. I think you can follow that formula. I don't think in 1986. I think they made the playoff playing 1986 ball last year.
And it was smart.
And in terms of the defense, the defensive line having the rotation last year,
Right.
You don't need somebody to come in and play 50 snaps. I mean, James Pierce played very few snaps last year. He was like 140th in the nation in terms of snaps off the edge. So the people are like, well, you've lost this and that. They rotate the guys anyway. You're going to get a lot of young guys in there, and you've recruited better. So I'm wondering if you might have some of that depth that we just don't know their names. It might be talented.
That's very
it might
possible.
be talented on
Very
defense,
possible.
where it's not like a young guy on the offensive line. You're there the whole game, buddy. We need you. If you're talking about a young guy coming in to rotate in as a pass rusher for 8 snaps, that's not as daring. So I'll give you maybe there. I'll give you maybe on the offense. My problem is you took care of the football last year. I don't know if you're talking bad snaps again this year. If we get some snaps, if you got a quarterback who's throwing interceptions, whoever it is, your margin for error last year was small, and that's why Nico didn't wow anybody. Nobody thought he was great, but he didn't lose games for you.
And when you went through a stretch where you were having turnovers, because Sampson did,
Fumbled
that literally put you in a position where you had to win according to this formula.
Yeah.
And a couple of more turnover, another interception from Nico in one of those games, and you probably lose.
My concern is defensive tackle. I just don't think you have the bodies at defensive tackle. You lost Amari Thomas. You lost a second-day pick at the defensive tackle position, and I don't know who the dudes are. I like the starters, but both of those guys have dealt with injuries.
Omar and Omar Lott.
Amari, but both of them.
So to me, I think, possible, not possible at all, no chance. Possible.
Small chance.
Small
Not
possible.
likely.
Not likely. Okay. Very good. Hope that answers your question. When we come back, how has Tennessee's offense performed in SEC games under Josh Heupel? This is an interesting trend that Tennessee's going to need to reverse. We'll do a little over-under action next. Tennessee scoring versus SEC defenses. We'll show you how that's gone over Heupel's 4 years. Come on back. You want to see the numbers. Welcome back to the Sports Source. This segment brought to you by Hearthside Bank, with branches across southeastern Kentucky and East Tennessee, including in Farragut. Hearthside Bank has been helping folks in our area take care of and grow their money since they first opened way back in 1920. Visit a Hearthside Bank location and you'll find what I found. It's a very friendly staff that offers the fullest of full-service banking. Hearthsidebank.com. Member FDIC. I've always wanted to say that. Okay, back with the group. Chuck and Tyler, these two here, they did a show, went up last night on the Sports Source Digital Network, a show called Action, brought to you by Advent Electric. Free plug for them, tell them. They talked about 4 trends with the passing game that have all gone in the wrong direction in the last 4 years.
Yeah.
And basically, it was whether it's throwing for 215 yards a game, whether it's completing 62% of your passes, interceptions in a game. What was the other one? There was a 4th one. Anyway, go watch it on the Sports Source Digital Network. What it is in 2021 and 2022, the number was here. The last 2 years, the number was here.
Right.
Every time, all 4. And it went from like 80% of the time you do it the first 2 years, you do it 50% of the time the last.
Correct.
I mean, go check it out. It's remarkable how similar the numbers are.
Alarming.
Yeah, alarming. We've got another one of those that I want to throw out to you right here. So it's very much like what we did on Action. Chuck, I'll start with you. UT needs to reverse those trends. They also need to reverse this one, I think. In 2021, against SEC defenses, all right, so we're taking out
Chattanooga?
Taking out Chattanooga and East Tennessee State and
Chucky Doug,
all the crappy teams, yes. UT averaged 34.8 points per game against SEC foes in Josh Heupel's first year. 34 points a game, almost 35. They averaged 43.4 points per game against SEC competition in 2022. 43 points per game in the SEC against SEC defenses. In 2023 with Joe Milton, it dropped from 43.4 to 24.4.
Yes.
And last year with Nico Iamaleava, it slightly ticked back up to 25 points a game. So, over those 4 years, 35, 43, 24, 25. So if you just split those numbers kind of in half, my question, Chuck, with UT's offense, will it score over or under 32 points a game against SEC defenses this year?
Yeah, and when we talk, I think
I'm asking you the question,
right,
will they over or under?
And the other one may have been explosive plays, right? The drop off.
something like
I
that,
think
yeah.
it was. You know, and we talked about it, Tyler. I think we both look at it. That's a good number.
It's good.
But if you're talking about over the season,
The 8 SEC contests.
and the struggles Tennessee has on the road, that you would have to say no. I mean, that's what I was. Yeah, under. I would take the under.
You say under as well. Under 32, under 32. I listened to your last segment, so.
No, well, you have to get back to that to win. Last year, your defense had to be elite. It'll be very good this year, I believe, but not elite. So I think that 32 is probably going to be slightly high, but I think it'll be 30 somewhere in that neighborhood. Otherwise, this year's going to be a train wreck. And I'm predicting them to have a 9-3 season. So I think they get back to having a dynamic offense.
Okay.
And I don't think that we're going to see as much like explosive plays. I don't think we're going to see all these shots down the field. I think where they'll get better is where they were kind of bad last year, and it's those intermediate passes, or maybe even in the middle of the field, which they never attack the middle of the field. So maybe your receivers are a little bit better, or they get better connection with the quarterbacks. But if they can't get something in the intermediate passing going, under for sure. And then if that running back room doesn't produce how they did last year, it could be ugly.
And one of the big things to me, Justin Hamilton, we showed it right here, the switch and release. That in 2022, you torched Alabama with that kind of formation. At Kentucky, back-to-back possessions, long touchdown plays. The switch and release is really not a factor anymore, right? That's kind of been taken out of the equation.
I don't think you have the playmakers at receiver, and I don't think you have the accuracy at quarterback.
But I'm just saying it all plays into how that trend goes down. You can't go to like one of your bread and butter plays.
That's a remarkable number that they had 35 and then 43 points per game against SEC defenses over the course of a season.
Yeah.
That's stunning. And then to have that cut in half or drop 20 points that per game.
To answer your question a little bit more in detail, I think it's a great number. Because in my projections that I have this year looking at Tennessee, whatever their estimated spread will be in their games, I think Tennessee needs to score somewhere in the neighborhood of 28 to 31 points. Your marker's just above where it is, so I think they score under, but it's right next to the bullseye where I have Tennessee needing to be game in, game out.
It does show you as well. You gotta get tempo. Like I don't understand why you're trying to. What's the last year made sense? Any other time you're just being not as good as you could be.
And I think that's why they're focusing so much on just like understanding of the game, because they didn't have so much tempo last year because you're constantly looking to the sideline waiting for the call, and then like there was just so much lag, and then it's not because there weren't open passes down the field. Nico just could not connect with those guys.
We've got another thing coming up on the Sports Source Digital Network this week, again with Kevin Simon, where we talk about will the tempo return, what he thinks about that, and why he thinks that tempo has gone away. Josh Heupel said things like rule changes could have played a role. I think everyone would agree that quarterback accuracy and playmakers have played a role, but also there's one other thing that I'm just going to leave it as a tease. That'll come up this week. That'll be Tuesday on the Sports Source Digital Network with VFL Kevin Simon. When we come back, what do you do when the last guy who needs to be given the quarterback job may look like he's more ready to take it? Come on back on the Sports Source. Welcome back to the Sports Source. This segment brought to you by Safety Systems. Don't know about you, but when I head out of town, I like to keep a constant eye on my home. I like to remain in control. Safety Systems can make that easy for you. Top-of-the-line security systems, the best cameras, all connected to your smartphone or your tablet. Call VFL JJ Surlis and his team for peace of mind. I mean, who likes to travel and wonder what's going on at your house? Peace of mind you get from JJ Surlis and the team at Safety Systems. Okay. Threw this back in after talking to some folks last night, the quarterback situation. I have said repeatedly that, and there are people who looked at the spring game, which was more like a glorified scrimmage, and said, ooh, Merklinger did not look good. MacIntyre's got the arm. MacIntyre looks like the guy. And I'm like, it's not your best option. If you've got this guy, he's your number 3 guy. You hear about Aguilar versus Merklinger. If he goes, it may be later in the season in a Tyler Bray type situation, and that would not be good. It's not a great sign if your young guy, who's a very, very thin guy, the least experienced guy, comes in and winds up playing. Because a lot of people want him as the guy. I'm hearing he's looking more and more like the guy. The problem is he's thin. He's rail thin. Thin as Nico, thinner than Nico.
Thinner.
You're looking at a guy who doesn't have the experience of the others. So my question is, what do you do if you brought in a guy who's supposed to be the guy? Now, you made it a competition, but Aguilar's supposed to be the guy. You bought him, you paid for him, he came in. He hasn't grabbed it. Merklinger, you were hoping he was going to step up. This is a guy who was, the number 11 quarterback in America when you signed him? You were hoping he was going to step up. Apparently, he hasn't looked good. He hasn't looked any better than he did in that spring game where I gave him a pass. MacIntyre looks like he's got the better arm. Looks like he's probably the more talented guy. So what do you do? Do you just say, screw it, we're keeping him on the bench, we're going with Aguilar?
Yes.
Or do you say, look, I don't care if he's young, just put the best talent out there. Let's go with the arm. You follow up on your answer that you already threw out there. Yes, Aguilar. You are an Aguilar man all the way.
For a couple of reasons. One, because the NIL commitment that you've given him, the experience that he's shown in the past. I personally believe that if you put George MacIntyre, even if he's the best candidate at this moment, 20 days out until they kick off, I think that you're waving a white flag and you're telling everybody in that locker room, look, we know what we have, but this is the best chance for us to win. I think immediately the rah-rah momentum from not only in the locker room but this fan base automatically turns negative. And we talked off the air about it. My understanding about that quarterback room is simple. If you want to win this year, Joey Aguilar gives you the best chance. You want to win next year, then it's Jake Merklinger that gives you the best chance. Who's got the highest stock if you're buying into Apple in the 1990s and you hope you get the biggest investment out of it? It's George MacIntyre. George MacIntyre's one blown assignment from an offensive lineman away from seeing the sidelines for the wrong reasons.
Well, and even some of the plays that you'll talk about from the orange and white game, like let's say over Darius Jackson, it was MacIntyre who was making that deep pass to the end zone, and then even to Travis Smith and these one-handed grabs that they all have. Like it was either Merklinger, obviously, and mostly it was MacIntyre making those types of throws. But like you say, I really do think that it should go to Aguilar. You hope it does. You hope at some point, like someone is in, they'll just take it, because then I do think that creates a lot of confusion for what's to come as the future of the program's concerned.
I think if they'd have drawn it up, Aguilar would have come in and hit the ground running and looked great. You wouldn't be splitting reps at this point. I think he would have separated in that first scrimmage, and you wouldn't have Heupel yesterday saying, I don't see any need to change the way we're doing the reps. Yeah. That's what I think they would have drawn up. That's not what they've gotten. Bob, what do you do if you've got a young guy?
You play the best football player.
Even if he looks like he could get broken in half.
Don't care. You play the best football player.
They didn't with Milton and Nico 2 years ago.
Well, and they made a mistake. And they made a mistake. Because it just, to me, you play the best football player. And Joey Aguilar seems to be the answer to every question. What? Okay, we've already talked about he throws a lot of interceptions. Oh, and he's short.
Yeah.
Okay, there's a new one to throw out there. He's short.
Off the air, we were talking about the film.
So now he's an interception throwing midget.
Let's
I mean,
we're going a little rough on Aguilar here
But
today.
You play the best football players, and you let them grow and you let them develop. I mean, that's just what you do. I mean, if he gives you the best chance to win, and you're afraid he might get hurt.
All right, here's the next.
Kid.
Okay, next question. There would be those if you did. What if you elevated it to an Aguilar MacIntyre question and just said Merklinger's not in the conversation anymore? Would you look at it and say, all right, it's a competition between these two instead of these
But
three?
I don't think it is a competition between Aguilar and
You're already
Merklinger.
Aguilar and you're Aguilar too.
But I think it's a competition between Aguilar and Merklinger. I don't think it's a...
No, it is.
Okay.
It is. I'm saying people I talk to think it should be a competition between Aguilar and MacIntyre, not Merklinger.
Yeah, I think maybe it is with MacIntyre, but he needs a much stronger arm, and I think that comes down to the weight thing that you're talking about. Like, he might understand, but I don't think he's going to have the arm that you need
the
for
arm
an
is
entire
interesting.
season.
Well, a lot of people think he's got the best arm. So it's, again, if they'd let people see more than a minute of
Practice.
crap, we'd be able to talk about it a little bit more intelligently. But let a pool reporter in.
Well, that's what
For the
Rick
love
Barnes
of God,
does
let
so
a pool reporter in and let somebody report on what they're seeing. But instead, you're going to have a fan. You're going to have a fan base that walks up, sits down, puts on the Syracuse game, and they go, Oh, my God. What happened to the quarterbacks? I thought we had 3 good ones. And nobody's going to know, and they're going to be really ticked off if they don't see good things against Syracuse.
I'm moving the goalpost here, and I know this isn't allowed. I think that we would be seeing a whole different Joey Aguilar if Nico decided to leave after the decided to leave after the Ohio State game.
Yeah.
I literally think that you're going to see Joey Aguilar continue to improve game by game by game when we get into the season. It's just a shame that you got a big matchup like Georgia in the Syracuse game.
And I think that is very possible.
Yes.
I think that is very possible that he comes in and you left Appalachian State to learn a new offense at UCLA. And now you left UCLA, and now you got to learn a totally different offense. I mean, I'm sorry, football's not rocket science, but yeah, there's stuff that you have to learn and have to pick up on. So I agree with that.
He's had 3 offenses in the last 2 years. Yeah. That also plays a role.
Well, he's had 3 offenses in the last 9 months.
Yeah. So the other thing I was going to throw out, there would be people, if you talk about MacIntyre being involved in this, there would be people who would immediately say, but what about Faison Brandon? If he looks good this year, Faison Brandon may not come, to which I would say, who cares?
Exactly. Thank you.
You're living in a world where somebody could be injured tomorrow, or somebody could come in, Notre Dame could come and say, here's $5 million, be our quarterback, and Faison Brandon says, man, I loved you, Knoxville, bye, and goes. Mm-hmm. So if you get a guy, and at the end of the year you're saying, oh, he's a guy, super, you've got a guy.
You got a guy.
I wouldn't worry. That wouldn't even factor in. Next year wouldn't factor in for me. All right, very good. We'll see we'll hear what they wind up doing from rumors and innuendos throughout the week because no one's going to let you see anything. When we come back, Tennessee ends 2 long-running shows, but is the reaction a little overblown to some Vol Network decisions? Come on back. Welcome back into the Sports Source. This segment brought to you by Games and Things. If you've been waiting for the right time to upgrade your home's entertainment room, ding, 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 now is that time. It is the right time right now. It's the sizzling dog days of summer sale going on at Games and Things throughout August. Get down there, man. They've got everything, big to small. Pool tables, air hockey tables, table tennis, dartboards, card sets, home theater seats, bars, bar stools, arcade games, jukeboxes. You dream it, they got it. Games and Things, because life should be fun, and let me tell you, they make it fun. All right, it's announced this week that UT will no longer be doing Vol calls on the radio. After 35 years, that show is now being mothballed, and it was announced that the coaches show on television that's been around a staple for years and years and years, the Josh Heupel show, is also being discontinued. There has been a little bit of blowback from fans. Is this just a sign of the times? That these shows are kind of going away. I mean, the coaches show, I grew up with that thing.
Yeah.
And they put it up opposite this show for a few years, and then they took it off. My first thought when they moved it opposite me was, oh no, the coaches show. Then you get the ratings, it's like, oh, nobody watches the coaches show anymore. And it's no knock on the UT people. I know the people who did it, and they are incredibly talented. But it's just, we don't need, everybody sees every game on television now.
Yeah.
And we got highlights on our phones, so we don't need to get up early the next morning to watch the coach break it down. So UT is going to be doing some new shows this year. Is it just a sign of the time that some of those shows were ready to go?
Yeah, it's a sign of the times, absolutely. Like for Vol calls, you can't, and as we do radio, you cannot take phone calls in radio and have a quality audience for the most part. I also think it's, with the coaches show, coaches don't say things anymore. Why would you? What, you're going to put the coach on and not say anything for half an hour? That's about the game that just happened.
The television show turned into a recruiting tool.
Right, exactly.
So that's part of it. Is I don't think people are going to watch it. You can create new things that will probably engage the fan base better than either of these things. I hate it because college football is steeped in tradition, but this is probably a tradition that's run its course at the end of the day. And if you don't kill your old traditions, you become Texas A&M, and you never want to become Texas A&M.
Never go full Texas A&M.
What were you going to say? You got any thoughts on this?
No, all in the additions. Look, the one thing, the blowback we repeatedly heard Friday when we addressed this wasn't so much the content that the coach was delivering on the air, but from a Vol call standpoint, there were some fans that were a little disappointed. Now they will no longer be able to get their FaceTime, selfies, autograph football, just that kind of one-on-one that a lot of people appreciated.
You're further insulating your coach from the fans. I see that as the negative isn't that the shows are going away. And again, Mike Keith is going to be bringing up a lot of new shows. Don't say I ever did anything good for you, Mike. There you go. But no, they don't deserve a lot of crap for killing these. They're bringing other stuff to the table that's more modern in terms of what works. But I will say, taking your coach away from FaceTime with fans, even if it was just dropped to one phone call that they would take last year. It used to be call after call, and that can be dangerous, but now you don't have that. I do think there's a danger in if you put so much insulation around your coach, then it's easier to say fire that guy at the end of the day if he doesn't win a game.
Well, and some of what I read, John, said we're trying to put more content out there, a different type of content, but you're going to limit the access, right? That's really what it kind of comes back to me. The coaches show, you lose an SEC game on the road at night, and then you're going to do a coaches show, and it's going to have anything really in there that you hadn't seen. And a lot of it, like you said, was recruiting. It was a position coach. It was like the Tennessee assistant coach.
Well, and you'd see stories on the nutritionist and all that stuff.
Right. The thing is, it's like an offensive system that's gotten figured out, like the read option with Butch Jones. It's the right move to make the change. What are you going to fill it with? That's the thing, is don't miss, or it's going to end up being a problem. Yeah. How do you replace it?
They're creating a lot of content, I know. Mike's behind that. Mike's a pretty sharp guy, you might have heard. One note, though, a little thing here talking about coaches' show since they're going away. This set right here, if you ever watched the old Johnny Major show, which I saw as a little kid, the old Johnny Major show was done right there, like right behind where Chuck is. He was over here. There's a famous one on YouTube where he bangs a shillelagh after Tennessee beat Notre Dame in 1979. That was basically right there. That's where he banged that shillelagh, sitting next to John Ward. And we've got a guy back here on staff who were you here at the time? I was here. Norm? We got a guy who's back here today with us who worked that show. All right, when we come back, announcement about this show, and then I want to ask some of the other guys. Thanks to Tyler and Will, I'll see you guys on the radio tomorrow. Literally, I will see you. They can hear us radio tomorrow on 99.1 The Sports Animal. When we come back, I'm going to ask Chuck, Tyler, Bob if expectations for the season are rising, falling, or the same. Come on back. Welcome back. Thanks for being with us today, and thanks for your support overall. I want to announce to you that here's what we got coming up in the fall. The Saturday kickoff, of course, will be here 11 a.m. right on WATE 6, and that'll be a UT pregame show. And you can tell your folks in the mid-state, if you know anybody over there, we're also going to be airing 10 a.m. over there on CW Nashville. So the Saturday kickoff will be year-round now in Knoxville and in Nashville. And you see the guys who will be taking part, and gals. John Wilkerson, Kevin Simon, Ollie Lane, Tyler Ivens, Paige Dauer, Will West, Vince Ferrara, and Ryan Callahan will be on the Saturday pregame show. The Sports Source postgame show, that's the same crew we've always had. We're going back 23 years now. This is our 23rd football season. That's every Sunday right here. You're watching it now. Jimmy Himes, Bob Hodge, Chuck Cavalaris, Josh Ward will be covering the media side of it. And then the player side, we'll bring in Sterling Hinton, Will Overstreet, Marlon Walls, and then a rotation of Mike Stoll, Daniel Hood, and Ollie Lane. And then finally, Sports Source Digital Network 24/7 every dang day. Trust me, it's why I don't get any sleep. We're going to have action. We'll be doing a lot of the SEC gambling lines throughout the season with Chuck and Tyler. Recruiting updates. I know Ryan Callahan's going to be involved in that. And then VFL Rewind is a new deal we're going to do. We're going to have some VFLs who just come in and do a little sit around in our lounge area to discuss the last game. That'll go up every week on the Sports Source Digital Network as well. Thank you for making all of that possible. Okay. We got like 2 minutes, so I'm going to ask you guys, Paige, Chuck, Bob. We did this last week with the fans.
Yes.
Expectations. Are your expectations for Tennessee going up, staying the same, or going down? In other words, are you a Sunshine Sterling, a Willie Raincloud, or an even Steven? Paige Dauer.
Even Steven, but there might be like a hole in the ship. Water might be coming into the ship. I'm not sure.
So storm clouds are blowing in?
I think so. Just because there are so many questions still around the offensive line and the competition that's happening there. What depth are they developing on defense? The wide receiver room. You want them to elevate the quarterback as much as you want the quarterback to elevate the wide receiver room. And there just still seems to be a bit of a disconnect between all of them. So maybe before when you could have bold takes, so that may be consequences and you think it's a 10-win season. Now that you have some tape, I'm still maybe in that like 8-win range, I think.
Yeah. I'm even Steven. Right now, I'm still, since we can't actually see what's going on, I believe what I see is it gets closer to game day or what we can see then. Right now, I'm still hoping Hostess don't have any serious injuries out there. Let's don't get somebody hurt that we're counting on.
Well, unfortunately, you're missing 2 guys from practice, but it doesn't sound like
Right.
They won't tell you what's wrong, but Brazel still hasn't practiced, but I've not heard anybody say he's going to miss time in the season.
Right.
And Staley has disappeared this week, but no one's come out and said they're going to miss the Syracuse game or anything like that yet that I have heard, Paige.
Correct. I've not heard that either.
Bob.
I think my expectations, I was 9-3 early, went to 8-4. I'm staying there despite the fact, let's think about it. What have we figured out on today's show?
Yeah.
Aguilar throws interceptions, he's short, and now I've heard he's gluten intolerant. So all these things add up.
making that up.
But
Wait, I was like, I missed that last
We
one.
did just keep adding stuff.
I'm going to stick for right now at 8-4.
Yeah.
Even with all the issues, because there's also some good news coming out about your
There,
defense,
yeah.
running backs and everything.
I
So I'm gonna
hear the
stay at
tackles are looking good.
Yeah,
I hear that Lance
yeah.
Hurd take a step forward. All right. Thanks to all of you. Appreciate you being here. Thanks to you for watching every week. You make it go. Get out and see our sponsors. We thank them as well. See you next week right back here.